We get the very latest on Cooper Kupp. Will Cooper Kupp play on Sunday? And keys to a Rams victory over the Eagles. How the Rams can beat the Birds. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your 2-2 Los Angeles Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the Locked On Rams YouTube channel. Trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, just past 9K, thanks to you. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and let us know what are your predictions for the Rams Week 5 matchup with the Eagles, and why do you think the Rams will win or lose? My name is Doug McCain. My friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on the X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade. Sports Illustrated, Dodgers Nation, 24/7 Sports. Now the Rams 4 Locked On. And as always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 8th season covering your Los Angeles Rams. He's known as the People's Champ. He's the Cooper Kupp to my Puka Nacua, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on the X at Travis Rogers. And on today's show, Cooper Kupp is back. We're going to get into that. We got key matchups for this game. We've got the keys to victory. But first, just a reminder that this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit matchup to $100. Now, Travis, let's get right into this one. We got keys to victory, but first, just a few minutes ago, we learned that Cooper Kupp most likely is going to give it a go. According to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, Kupp is, quote, expected to play against the Eagles, barring any setbacks. The Rams have been cautious with him in practice and have been keeping him on account, but he was a full participant Thursday, so clearly he's making progress. So that is a big development. We get Cooper Kupp, one of the best players in the NFL, back for this team. Definitely a big boost for this offense.
Well, I think you got to get at least 5 innings out of Clayton Kershaw. I think that the first guy out of the bullpen is Emmett Sheehan. Oh, wrong podcast. Yeah, for sure. Yes, Cooper Kupp.
Runs the scoring position.
Look, I'm excited about the Dodger playoff game coming up tomorrow. What am I going to tell you? Yes, it's incredibly exciting that that Cooper Kupp is back. There's nothing but opportunities in front of the Rams to have him there. What it means for Puka Nacua, what it means for Kupp. Does Puka actually get to an even higher level with Kupp being there? Does those two guys together create opportunities for Tyler Higbee or Tutu Atwell or any of the other offensive weapons that the Rams might have? Kyren Williams says it open up the running game there because so much attention is being paid to the passing game. This is great news. I think that the Rams did something that, quite frankly, I'm a little surprised about. They were able to be 2-2 without Cooper Kupp. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season that Cooper Kupp was not going to touch a football until week 5, I would have had a big uh-oh going into this thing. And it's not. They're right in it. You look around the NFC. Look at what you saw last night in D.C. with the Commanders, another 2-2 team. Rams are a lot better than that team. And you're going to see that team later in the year. The New York Giants, another team that we thought may be in a playoff picture, was a year ago, probably will not be. And this is a big game. This is an NFC opponent. This is a game that if you win it, it could be a potential tiebreaker. And having Cooper Kupp out there for it is absolutely massive.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, I'm going to the stadium in a few hours. Kershaw is going to be available for media availability. I was thinking about asking him if the rumors are true that he grew up with Matthew Stafford. Have you ever heard that one?
I've heard that. I'm
going to try to get confirmation on that.
About that. Yes, that Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw were high school teammates. I do have a vague recollection of hearing that before.
I might use Stafford as the Game 4 starter. I'm just saying. But
they may need to.
I think the most exciting about this is the look at this tandem, this potential dynamic duo between Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I think going back to baseball, will he be on a pitch count, a potential snap count? How will he look? For me, as long as he's 100% healthy, you saw him there in practice. He looked like he was making hard cuts. He was getting into his breaks. And as long as that hamstring isn't falling off the bone like barbecue or anything like that, I think he's going to go out there and have success. I think that Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp have a chance to get in the end zone there. I was rewatching the 22-yard touchdown catch in overtime. And what made that so impressive is they could have brought him down outside the 5-yard line.
Sure.
And you saw that cut inside to get in the end zone. You squint your eyes, you kind of see some Cooper Kupp there on that play. So I'm so excited to see Puka and Kupp on the same field at the same time. I think, like you said, you would have taken 2 and 2 without Cooper Kupp with that schedule any day of the week. And with the way things are lined up, yes, the Eagles are favorites in this game. There's no doubt about it, but that is how you are going to beat this team. You're going to have success through the air, and that really is my first big key for this game, is you have to exploit this Philadelphia Eagles secondary. They're banged up. They're missing some key guys, and also you have a outside corner who's essentially playing slot corner for them, and you have to basically take advantage of that matchup.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you said a second ago, D-Mac, because I think it's really important. I think it's a great point that the opportunity that the Colts had to get Puka on the ground before he went into the end zone to win that game. And we've talked so much about how Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are similar in their ability to play all three positions on the field, all three receiver positions on the field. We've talked about how they both run very crisp routes. We've talked about all of the different football characteristics that they share. But I think one of the things that we kind of haven't talked about that you just touched on is the fact that Nacua is just a horse like Cooper Kupp is. I get it. The Cooper Kupp, I think people in their mind's eye, they think he's one thing. The fact of the matter is, guy's about 6'3". He's 200 and some odd pounds, and he's strong. He's a physically, punishing wide receiver. So's Puka. That the comparisons that we've had before between Puka Nacua and Robert Woods are many, right? We've talked about how those two guys together, Woods and Kupp, were able to do what they did with the Rams and the Sean McVay offense, and I expect a lot of that overlap. But what Nacua is that Woods wasn't is he's much bigger and he's stronger, and the ability to punish guys, to drag guys into the end zone. And Robert Woods was a tough football player. He was a guy that was throwing blocks. He was willing to do anything that needed to be done, but he was a more slight guy. He wasn't nearly as wide as Nacua is. Putting Kupp and Nacua on the field together, like you mentioned, I think is great. And that brings to the other thing you were talking about, that matchup with the secondary. You got two big wide receivers. You got another guy that can fly in Atwell. I like the mismatches that are out there potentially. I like those guys catching the ball in space and running with it after the catch and seeing what they can come up with. The more you look at this game, I think the more that you can find reasons that the Rams are going to be competitive in it. Even when the Rams haven't played well, they've been in the game, and I think they got a real opportunity on Sunday.
Absolutely. And James Bradbury, he's been filling in that nickel spot right there, but he's someone who really needs to be on the outside. So he struggles against quicker slot receivers, and that is the matchup that you have to exploit if you're the Rams. And you're looking at this passing defense of the Eagles, ranked 26th in the NFL. And I think that is where, if you're looking for an area where the Rams can have an advantage, that is where it is. And if you can find a way to establish some run game with that, this offense can score points, and that's what you're going to have to do against this Eagles team if you want to have some success. But yeah, to your point about Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, is that there are key differences between these two guys. And you mentioned how Puka's stronger. I mean, he's someone, they both have aggressive hands, but for me, it's their feel and their football IQ, their ability to know the perfect time to cut, to find a soft spot in a zone. We know that this offense likes to do that, take advantage of any soft spots and zones to make big plays. And I also think, too, Tutu Atwell is someone I'm looking at this week to have himself a really nice game to sort of get back on track. Not saying that he's been bad or anything like that, but you've seen his targets go down a little bit. You've seen since that week 1 matchup, he's someone that hasn't made those big plays. He's been targeted 18 times and 9 times in 3 straight games after being targeted 8 times in week 1. So those 18 targets against the Bengals and Colts last week, I mean, he caught 9 passes for 74 yards. That's 50% catch rate, 8.2 yards per catch, 4.11 yards per target. For your deep threat, that's not good. Average depth of target, you want deeper than that. So hopefully with all the concentration and focus on the return of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, that's going to give you some opportunities to beat this Eagles team over the top. And I want to see some more deep shots in this one.
I love it. We know that Sean McVay likes to push the ball down the field when the opportunity is there. So I think that he's probably looking for those chances as well. Again, Kupp's return not only gives you an all-pro caliber weapon that's back on the field, just him being there is an incredibly advantageous position. But what it does for everyone else, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what Puka Nacua can do when he's not the guy that you're trying to stop. If he's had 500 yards in 4 weeks, if he's had 39 catches in 4 weeks, where at least for the last 2 weeks, defenses have been attempting to slow him down, what in the world does he do with Cooper Kupp out there? What could Tutu? I think there's an opportunity for Tyler Higbee here too. That if Atwell is pushing the ball down the field, or at least stretching the defense like we're talking about, if Nacua and Kupp are doing the Woods and Kupp impersonation, and they're able to find those spaces outside the hash marks, what does that leave inside? What does that leave in the middle of the field? That's Tyler Higbee. That's throwing it to Kyren Williams out of the backfield. This is an incredible, it just adds a dimension that simply wasn't there because Van Jefferson isn't Cooper Kupp. Van Jefferson was not somebody that you're worried about. And, hopefully Van continues to have a nice NFL career. Hopefully it's here in Los Angeles, but, taking him off the field and replacing him with Cooper Kupp is just, you couldn't talk about a bigger upgrade.
Stafford's going to have a complement of weapons at his disposal. I think that people out there saying that this is going to hurt Puka, maybe in fantasy, but the real ball knowers out there, this is actually going to help him because it's going to be less focused on him. I think he's going to be able to eat. I agree with you 100%. By the way, fantasy owners that are here, yes, Cooper Kupp's back to save your 0-4 fantasy team. Thanks for the clicks. Thanks for joining us here. And be sure to subscribe. But here, Travis, coming up in our next segment, we got more keys to victory, more key matchups. That's coming up next on Locked on Rams.
All right, D-Mac, let's talk about bird dogs. And I need everybody to listen to me because this isn't graphic at all, but I can't wait to get home after work today and take off my pants. And here's what I mean by that. Doug and I record Locked on Rams when I'm at work and I have to wear, stiff work pants and all that kind of stuff. The second I come through that door, those pants go off and the bird dog pants come on and they stay on because I can wear them to dinner. I can hang around the house. I can go and do pretty much anything that I want in my bird dog pants. And guess what happens on Saturday morning? I put them right back on again. And then I wear them all day Saturday and I'll watch football in them. I'll go out to lunch in them. I'll hang around the house in them. I can go outside in them. Everything about these bird dog pants they make you look great. They're incredibly good to look at. But the other part is they're just the most comfortable pair of pants that I have ever put on in my entire life. Go check it out for yourself. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL or enter the promo code LockedOnNFL at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL for a free water bottle at checkout. You will not want to take these things off. I promise you, you will absolutely hate all of your other pants. They got shorts too that are just as good if you're in a spot where it's still hot. Go check it out. birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And a special shout out to our everyday listeners. We appreciate you watching every episode, listening to every episode, and you can be an everyday listener too. Join the club. Membership is free, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Now, Travis, in our second segment, we're going to continue to run down these keys to victory, and I want to shift to the defensive side of the ball for a second here. And one of the big keys in this one, I think probably the biggest key potentially, is can you have some success in stopping that Eagles ground game? Because the Eagles, they have an elite rushing attack. The Birds are averaging 165.3 rushing yards per game. That's the second most in the NFL, behind only the Miami Dolphins. I think you need a big game from rookie Kobe Turner. The other defensive lineman's going to need to slow them down. Aaron Donald's got to wreak havoc, but that's going to be the big key. One, because you don't want to limit that production, but also you don't want them to control the clock. You want to give some opportunities to your offense to score some points with that explosive passing game.
I think Freddie Freeman needs to have a big series. I think Mookie Betts needs to get hot again. And if JD Martinez can continue to be the guy that he's been in the 100, I'm sorry. I got to get it out. At some
You are
point.
Locked On Dodgers.
Look, I love the Rams, and I'm excited to see what happens. It's perfect schedule, by the way. Dodgers on Sunday and Monday, Rams, and I should say on Saturday and Monday, Rams on Sunday. It works out great. Yes, you're right. I think that the defense that the Rams are going to bring out there may be the difference in this game. I think we can count on the Rams able to score some points, but I think the key to beating them is keeping the Eagles defense, or excuse me, the offense off of the field for as often as possible, right? That the Rams they've run more plays in the NFL than anybody else through the first 4 weeks of the season. I think that's a good thing. Now, I wouldn't hate some shorter fields. I wouldn't hate a few more takeaways that give Matthew Stafford the ball in plus territory. We haven't seen that once all year. The Rams have started in their own end every single drive this season. I'd like a couple of short fields, but what that does when you have those 80-yard drives, those 75-yard drives, is it keeps the opposing offense off of the field. It means that you can control clock. It means that you can, I don't need Jalen Hurts and Hollywood Brown and these guys doing what they do. Let's make sure that the Rams keep the ball on offense so the defense isn't having to do too much, because I don't need Jalen Hurts to find his groove here this week. If that's going to happen, let's have it happen after they leave town. I think the defense is incredibly important, not just to prevent points, but to keep the ball in the offense's hands.
Yeah, they're going to have to stop the run game. Will Smith is going to have to make good throws to get out Corbin Carroll when he's on the base pass like that. No, I'm just playing. But you look at this team, DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Hurts. I mean, this is the top-rated run-blocking offense, according to PFF, at 80.6. They're going to want to pound the rock. That is going to be their strategy. Hurts, though, this season hasn't had one of those explosive games on the ground. He's averaging 3.8 yards per carry. Last week against the Colts, when Richardson, he had 56 yards for 5.6 yards per carry and the touchdown. DeAndre Swift on the year averaging 6.2 yards per carry. So they have to find a way to neutralize that run game. I can't tell you enough. Find a way to stop the tush push, okay, the brotherly shove. You have to find a way to stop that. Aaron Donald actually has some comments about how to stop that brotherly shove, and I found those pretty interesting. He made those yesterday. Aaron Donald said, you got to be stout in the middle. Obviously, offensive line tries to get as low as you can. I think it all starts from the center. You get under his pads and pop him up, and then guys crowd the ball. You can stop it, but it's definitely tough. Get as low as you can and just get off full speed. That's it. That's it. Make it powerful. How do you stop that if you're the Rams, Mr. Travis Rogers?
Yeah, well, and look, if Aaron Donald thinks he can stop it, I'm listening, because I think you'd have to be Aaron Donald to stop it. Like what he just described, okay, get under the center's pads. All right, much easier said than done. Can Aaron Donald do it? Sure. Can Aaron Donald hold up the center while two more offensive linemen are shoving the quarterback into the center? Maybe. I mean, look, if Aaron Donald thinks so, I'm not going to tell him he can't, because he's Aaron Donald and I'm me. So he knows more about this than I do. Here's what I think about the brotherly shove. Al Michaels said it last night on Thursday Night Football. It's got to go. It's not a football play. It's a rugby play. It's something that right now is legal. It's something right now that's virtually indefensible. I don't know if it hasn't worked yet, or if it hasn't, it's been very, very rare. I think the NFL is going to have to change that rule, because 3rd and 1 shouldn't be an automatic conversion. 4th and 1 shouldn't be an automatic conversion. I'm okay with the traditional sneak like Tom Brady used to do, but the brotherly shove, for me, it's got to go. And I'll give the NFL some credit here. When they think that a rule needs to be changed, they change it. And maybe it's, maybe the Eagles have perfected it and some other teams can't do it. But if Aaron Donald can't stop it, then it can't be stopped.
It should be banned in all 50 states. I think you ban the brotherly shove, you ban the Taylor Swift cutaways, and then I think the NFL will be better because of it. And then about Aaron Donald, I want to point out a couple of things. I really kind of took your advice, of course, and just for funsies, went back and watched some more AD in his game against the Colts. He ruined their game plan. He was so disruptive. And I like what they're doing. They're moving up and down, of course, like they always do, find those soft spots. But you'll see him at the D tackle spot. You'll see him outside the left tackle there, lined up almost as an edge rusher. And I think, how will the left guard, Landon Dickerson, how will Jordan Mailata, how will Lane Johnson handle Aaron Donald? Because if he has another big game like he did against the Colts, that's going to go a long way to seeing if this Rams defense can have success against this Eagles offense. I also say, too, you got Aaron Donald's sack list of all-time teams. The Eagles are one of just 2 teams left that he hasn't had a sack against. Last week, he crossed one off against the Colts. I think he crosses another team off that list with the Eagles. Another big matchup, though, Travis, is left tackle Or actually, I want to start with this one. I want to start with Steve Avila. We haven't talked about Steve Avila in a few shows here. Is him versus Jalen Carter. And it's a rematch of the national championship game. Jalen Carter, like we talked about, our friend Gino from Locked On Eagles yesterday, he's been phenomenal this season. His defensive grade at 92.2 is the fourth highest of any player in the NFL, has 20 pressures. That's second most for interior defenders, behind Aaron Donald has 22. The Rams can't allow Jalen Carter to just live in the backfield and just create pressure all game long, and that's going to come down to, will Steve Avila have success? So a big test for Avila.
It is for sure, because Jalen Carter is one of those guys, right? He's one of those guys that if he stays healthy and he stays committed to what it is that he's done through the early part of his rookie season, he's going to be a problem for a long time. He's one of those guys. Okay. I think I like how you set it up, D-Mac, that this idea that it's kind of a rematch of the NCAA championship game that we saw last year at TCU against Georgia. And we all know how that went. Georgia scored 1 billion. TCU had negative 600. It was a joke. But the difference is that Georgia team might have been one of the great football teams of all time, right? College football teams. It had an NFL player at virtually every position. TCU didn't. Steve Avila is. Trey Tomlinson was. Like, they had some dudes, don't get me wrong, but it was such an incredible mismatch. Now that he's surrounded, he being Steve Avila, is surrounded by other NFL talent, and Jalen Carter has the benefit of having everyone else with a mismatch around him, the other 10 positions on the field. It's much more of a fair fight. I can't wait to see it. I think you're right. Look, Avila's been really good. It's pretty rare where a guy comes in as a rookie and you just drop him in there, and especially on the offensive line, and we just stop talking about him. That's the best case scenario for an offensive lineman, where you just never say his name because you never need to. He's not getting beat. He's not getting called for penalties. He's not, getting pushed around week after week after week. He's been terrific. But I do agree that if Carter's able to get in that backfield, and look, I know Matthew Stafford has looked pretty good at practice so far this week, but he was limping pretty good a week ago. The last thing you need to see is him on the ground over and over again.
Yeah, and Trav, to your point, in that TCU Georgia game, even when they were blowing them out and they're basically short-circuiting the scoreboard at SoFi Stadium because they had so many points, Steve Avila was still performing well. He was still giving it his best effort. He's also going to be going up against Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis. But yeah, Carter, he's the real deal. 20 pressures through their first 4 games. Another big matchup that I think could really decide this game is whoever is going to be the starting left tackle, with some questions about Alaric Jackson and Joe Noteboom, who remain silent with hamstring and groin injuries, them against Josh Sweat, because Josh Sweat is someone who's 16 pressures this season, second on the Eagles. He's someone that can wreak havoc. And we know that the key to this passing game and letting these plays develop is keeping Matthew Stafford vertical. So that's the big matchup. One, do any of those guys stay healthy? If both aren't on the field, they're going to be in big trouble. Hopefully one of those guys is able to give it a go, but that's really going to be a big one heading into this matchup.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that the Rams are going to have, a couple of matchups that are not in their favor. You just named a few of them, right? That this is something that, if you're just putting this, checks and, who has a check here, who has a check there, the Eagles probably have a few more green checks. And like you were just saying, this is one of them. There are ways to neutralize those things. I want to see them be committed to the run game. I want to see them maybe throw a few more screen passes. I wouldn't mind seeing that Sean McVay test their rules a little bit, right? There's some jet sweeps, which typically I don't love, but I think that's an interesting call against a team like this that can get to the quarterback and stuff up the middle the way that they can. Let's see if they can get a guy peeking into the backfield a little bit. Let's see if we can drop it over the top of their heads. Let's see if we can get the ball out of the pocket very quickly, not unlike we see San Francisco do against Aaron Donald, kind of a little turnaround and do the same thing to the Eagles. I think you're right. I think that's something to keep an eye on, but that's what makes football so much fun. There's a counter, whatever somebody does well, there's a counter move to it. If you can at least make them do a two-way go, do I have to stop? Or can I just pin my ears back and come forward? That's what the Rams need to make sure. And again, this comes back to hold the ball. This comes back to play with a lead. This comes back to being good down and distance after first down. They can't have a bunch of 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 7s. That's not going to work. You need some 2nd and 6s and some 3rd and 3s and 3rd and 4s and make them defend both the pass and the run.
Absolutely. And the Rams, they have to convert on 3rd down. They have the 8th highest 3rd down conversion rate in the league right now at 43.9%. But we got more keys to victory predictions. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
All right, D-Mac, Prize Picks is by far the most fun I've had with daily fantasy sports in my entire life, right? We're talking about winning up to 25 times your money, and you can do it this weekend. Here's what you do. You select 2 or more players, and you just pick more or less on their projected stats, put it in, and see if you win, right? So this week, you can make the decision. You think Justin Jefferson is going to get more or less than 100 yards? Do you think that Lamar Jackson is going to have 1 or more passing touchdowns or less than 1 passing touchdown? That's how easy it is at Prize Picks. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that can lead to huge payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25%, which of course means even more value for you. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match of up to $100. You heard me. prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Super fun. 25 times your money. You know football. Go give it a shot. Use that code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match of up to $100.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, Travis, here in our final segment, couple final thoughts on this game. I think for me, the big key is defensively. Can you stop this Eagles run game? Can you have success against these talented Eagles wide receivers? That's another match I'm looking at. Is Akella Witherspoon versus A.J. Brown. And last year when Witherspoon was on the Steelers, they hunted him. He gave up 9 catches. He gave 7 catches on 9 targets, 73 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But it's a different Akella Witherspoon this year. He's healthy. He's been one of the best cornerbacks in the league so far. The Rams holding receivers is a 75.2 rating with just 1 touchdown allowed. Brown has been in his bag lately, though. 18 catches and 308 receiving yards his last 2 games with 2 touchdowns. So that's a key matchup. And I think if you can do a pretty decent job in shutting down these Eagles wide receivers, I think this Rams can find a way to steal a win here.
Get on top of the Diamondbacks early, put them on their heels, make them play from behind, and take the pressure off of the Dodgers in that opening round series so we don't have a repeat of what happened a year ago against San Diego. Get the lead early, get it over with, and move on to the NLDS. Yes, that's how you win. The Dodgers win on Saturday. As for the Rams, yeah, look, I'm excited about this. The more I think about it, I think we're going to have a much better idea of what this Rams team is. And I think there are kind of 3 options in the NFL. You can be legitimately good, which they've been more often than not under Sean McVay. Really, they've only not been that once. That was last season. You can be bad, which is what they were a year ago. And then you can be one of those teams that can, kind of be in it for a minute, kind of be in it because you can beat the bad teams, but maybe you don't quite have the horsepower to beat the very best, the San Franciscos, the Dallases, the Philadelphias, the Kansas Cities, those sorts of teams along the way. I think we're going to have a pretty good idea of which group that Rams team falls into by the time we get to Sunday afternoon. That if they beat the Eagles, I think that we put them in the legitimately good category. And you can kind of throw Cincinnati into that. Okay, it's just a bad night. It's the NFL. Weird stuff happens. You saw the Bears, pound a team last night. So weird stuff happens in this league. I get it. If they get steamrolled, I think we're talking about a weird coin flip in Indianapolis, and you're looking at potentially a 1-4 team that isn't 1-4, but that's what they actually are. And then there's the San Francisco result where you're in it and it's kind of, you have a chance, but at the end of the day, you didn't beat another good team. You're under 500 again. And now you're going to have to catch a break somewhere. You're going to have to beat a team that maybe you're not supposed to beat. You take care of business against the Cardinals of the world, the Giants, the Commanders, and the Raiders. And I don't play the Raiders this year. I'm thinking the Saints. I've got Derek Carr on the brain. And you're going into the last weekend kind of floating around a playoff spot. I think we're going to have a much better idea of where they are by the time we're done on Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely. I look at this as just a massive opportunity to have a statement win, hand this Eagles team their first loss. Yes, they're underdogs. Yes, a lot of people won't expect them to win, but I think that this team coming off that dramatic overtime thrilling win with Puka Nacua, with Cooper Kupp returning, I want to see them continue to emphasize the run. This Eagles team holding opponents to a 2.9 yards per carry. That's going to be big, but they're underdogs. But I think that, look, great underdog story, Philadelphia, Rocky IV. Okay, we need to go Rocky IV versus Ivan Drago. We need to get those rib shots in the run game with those shallow crossers. We need to make Ivan Drago see his own blood. When he saw his own blood, he knew that they were for real. I think this Rams team has a different gear, a different level of toughness. I think they see this as a great opportunity for them, almost playing with house money in this one. I think there's a good chance this Rams team can win. Look, like I said yesterday, I got to stick with my pick. I think the Rams find a way to get this one done somehow, some way. I think the return of Cooper Kupp is big. I got the Rams winning this one 28-24.
If you can change and I can change, then we can all change. I like that Rocky ended the
Adrian.
It's my favorite moment in the entire Rocky series that he ended communism and the wall came down because
he's first West, right?
It's terrific. It's a tremendous movie. I want the Rams to win. I think they can win. I think it's going to be a difficult challenge for them. They're going to have to take the ball away. If they can get a turnover and if they can prevent turning it over, I think that they squeak it out. I think that they win a game 27-24. If they turn it over and don't get one, I think they're in big trouble because Philadelphia is good. Keep in mind, Philadelphia may not have been the team we saw a year ago, but they are 4-0. And I think that's the mark of a really good team, that when you're winning games despite not playing your best football, that scares me a little bit because eventually the Eagles are going to start to look like the Eagles again. I hope it doesn't happen on Sunday. Matthew Stafford needs to throw another shutout. I think there's a ton on his plate. Thankfully, with Kupp coming back and with everything else we've talked about, I think that that's certainly possible. Aaron Donald's going to get that sack that you mentioned. I do think they pull it out, but they're going to need to get a fortunate bounce at some point.
And if they don't win, hey, life's not about how hard you can give a hit. It's about how many times you can take a hit and still keep moving forward. I think so. Go Dodgers, go Rams. Let's get this win.
We should do a movie podcast. We should do Rams. We should do Dodgers, and we should do movies. I think we need to talk to David Locke about getting us a movie podcast.
Count me in. Count me in. By the way, we could see Phillies Dodgers. This could be a little preview. So very, very interesting to see this one. But thanks again for rocking with us here, guys. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on the X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And as always, you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, on the X at Travis Rogers. Until next time, whose house is Locked On Rams house?
Go Dodgers.